All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Preparing for Real Life Events. This is Cerebral Jam Session number 4. Chris and I are back here again, and then we have two of our guests that were with us the last couple times that we did it. We've got Jolena and Regina with us again. Super excited about that. Today we're going to talk about preparing for real life events. We've talked about the impact. Chris and I discussed that, and then we brought Regina on with us, and we kind of were talking about conversations that we had, which were highly important. And then Jolena was with us last session, and just kind of, what are we doing? What are we going to do? And so right now we're talking about preparing. So all the topics we talked about, whether it's pandemic, whether it's opioid crisis, trauma, fear, anxiety, stress, we know that whenever we get back to whatever we're going to call normal, all these things are still going to be there. And so we have to really think proactively. But I think Kristen and I and the group, we talked offline a little bit, there's going to be some reaction because there are things that just happen and we're not really prepared for them, but we got to start prepping for these things. So I think kind of where we're going to start is going back to school safely with teachers. We're kind of getting in the groove with students. We kind of understand that the science is there. The teachers' issues are starting to kind of hop around. So Regina, what do you think, kind of as you're thinking, what are we going to start doing to get teachers back in schools?
Oh, well, actually, that is actually a very good question. One of the things that come up in my mind that I think about is, are all teachers required to have vaccinations going back into school? Because I know I have teacher friends that have gotten their second vaccination shots, and some teachers are opposed to not getting the vaccination shots. So what's that going to look like? Is it going to be a requirement, or are you going to have to resign after that? And also, too, the capacity to having everyone back. Like, is it going to be a half virtual, half school, and then during the next semester, then the children are going to swap around? So that is one thing that actually concerns me, is the capacity of the schools, and are we actually going to be able to have everyone come back into the district as a full classroom? Most
Yeah.
classrooms are pretty overcapacitated now. So
Right. I think that's a huge point is, are you going to have to get it? I have a friend whose wife, she got it on Sunday and then she'll get through other one, but they're letting him have the option. Okay, so if I option in, I'm getting it, but does that mean if I don't option in, then I can't go back? I mean, so that's a big one. I think that's a huge, huge, huge point. Jolena, you talked last time about you have friends that are principals. How are they kind of handling that? Have you heard any rumblings from them about, we're trying to get them vaccinated, but not everybody is real accepting. We have some resisting. And then how am I going to address, yeah, do I have to tell the parent? I mean, have you heard anything from some of your educated friends?
Do you know what? I haven't. I mean, all of the ones that are in the process, they are getting it. I have not heard from any administration or folks who are in that role of anyone who's not getting it. I do know some folks who are teachers who don't necessarily live in our county. So, but they work over here. Where they're from, they may, just the requirements are different. So they may not be getting it. And then you talk about preparing. One of the things I think about is we're now policing teachers' bodies, and I want my teachers to get it, like anyone teaching my kid, because I don't want to get it. But I also want to be mindful of the fact that if someone decides they don't want to do it, are we preparing as a society to give them other options for careers? That we are in a new phase of our society, or moving into that one. How do we prepare for that? Because I know that when this all first hit, there was requirement for teachers or school personnel to go back into the building. It wasn't a choice. And I had some friends who left the profession because it was an either or. And not everyone's going to have that option. So how do we prepare
Absolutely.
for
I
that?
think that's a huge point, because I have a friend as well that's saying, if we continue this path, I'm close enough to retirement, I'm out. I mean, I won't get to my highest level of retirement. I don't care. I'm out because I can't keep doing this and jockeying back and forth. And I think it says what Drina was saying is, so we're going to do half of the kids that do it online and they're in person, but then we're good. We can flip them around. Well, then what if the kids don't want to flip? Well, then now all of a sudden we have all these kids. Some are going all virtual. So I think that that's going to be huge. But I also think it's giving our educators a way of saying we can teach differently. We can do this. The district my friend's wife works in, she's the virtual teacher. I mean, that's her. That they said, you're really good with technology. Would you take it on? She said, absolutely. It's first grade, which is insane to have 20 first graders virtual. That'd be like herding cats on a good day, but it's rainy outside. I mean, it would be insane for that to happen. But that's what she took. But that's also a strength. What if you get someone that says, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go back in the building because I do have some health concerns, but I'm not technologically savvy. So you can't be my virtual teacher. So now, like you said, are we going to have to rearrange? Are they going on a different career path? Things like that. I think that's crazy. Chris, I think you're really good about this. Talk about what you think normal is going to look like.
Normal.
What normal or abnormal.
I don't think there's going to be
whatever we're going to call it. How do you see normal either in the context of school or society or both? What the normal is going to be?
I don't think it's going to be normal as much as maybe new. And I think the thing is that, we as we're preparing to go back, we need or what might help us is to look at and, again, to be reflective on what we did, because like you mentioned, Adam, a lot of what we did is reactive because we were put in a situation, I know we in our company did things, and then of course in our collaborations with our customers and our partnerships with schools, we try to help schools as they reacted to best do what they thought they could do to educate students during this crisis. I think the thing is I talk with a lot of teacher friends of mine, and and principal friends. The fear is that what we're doing isn't going to work, and we're not going to be meeting the needs of the students. We're not going to be teaching the right things. We're not going to be addressing this and I think that's fine. That's a valid anxiety. And in fact, I think one of the things that I'd like to think about as we're moving towards forward is what are some of the things, we did try to persevere. We had to be reactive, but what are some of the things that we failed at, and sometimes failed at spectacularly? I mean,
Yep.
the response in this country was not optimal, and I'm being nice by saying that. And I should say, yeah, there are times where we failed spectacularly, and I think that's okay. I mean, I think that's okay because the pieces are still all there. And that's the hope. The hope is that we have those pieces as we're moving forward to put them back together in a new way, and in a way that is going to, so that in the future, like you were saying, Adam, things that happen, the things that we address in the future, we can do it more proactively. I think that's the key. I in one of the earlier ones I said, the pandemic showed me, that, and again, I counted myself as lucky because I did not suffer some of the things that other people did, but it did show me that there was trauma for all. Yeah. And I think as we're moving forward, it is, and we're developing this new path. Is that we'll, in order to be proactive, shouldn't it be well-being for all? Shouldn't we, work? I mean, work on things that will help us all do that. And that's an easy thing to say. It's a hard thing to do because, as you mentioned, with the schools opening up, and then also, but during the pandemic, teachers leaving and things like that, and making that choice because they don't want to come back into the situation, and some way that we could work with them, maybe to keep them. I know I had a friend who, family member was ill, and so the school worked with him, where all the other teachers had gone back at least part-time, where he can continue to do virtually. That's not going to be all the case for all the schools. They may not have that ability. So again, like we talked about last time, I think in the last session where we're talking more about equity, is that we have to look at what needs to be done to try to get us all to that state of well-being. Some schools are going to be able to open. They have the capacity. They have the ability to do distance, to keep distances in school, make sure kids are masked, make sure kids are their temperatures are taken, to make sure all their teachers who want vaccinations get vaccinations, because that's the other thing. There are some groups in our society right now who are not getting the vaccine.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
if we want to really do this together and to collaborate together, is just to make sure that's not happening, that everyone is given the opportunity to move forward to this new path.
Right. And so I think I'm gonna direct both of these at Jolena and Regina, because you have children just like I do, and family. So Jolena, how are you preparing your family moving forward? Not your immediate family, but also, some extent. How are you preparing them about the new norm that we're headed into?
Well, there's one thing I just want to kind of shape a little bit differently, or new norm or new path, that I want to make sure we're plural in the youth, because it's going to be paths. They're going to be multiple
Absolutely.
paths.
Yeah, thanks.
And if we
Yep.
start shaping the language in a singular way, then there's going to be expectation as we move
Absolutely.
forward
Yep.
that it's singular. So for my family, again, I stated this last time, I want to recognize the position of privilege I'm in, so I get to make some of these choices in terms of proactive. I will be getting the vaccination. My husband will be getting the vaccination. Right now, my students, both of my children are remote learners. That was a choice that I could make as well, and also one that I made for social justice reasons. I struggle with teachers having to go back when they may not want to. So I'm keeping, because I have access to news, I'm keeping an eye on what it's supposed to look like in the fall. My youngest would love to work from home. He thrives in that sort of environment. I'm not sure I thrive with him still being in the environment with me. I mean, I
Yep.
love him and all, but um, I feel some sort of way when he's done with his day and I'm not done with mine. Let me just say that.
Absolutely.
So, but he also needs a certain social interaction that I cannot give him. I do not have a homeschool mindset, meaning like I don't have the resources. So if I did and I had the time, then maybe I could shape his world. So doing that, and then for the older child, this is right now, as long as they know their mom is going to be healthy, they are willing to go back in the fall. The other thing though, let's say this pandemic, let's just say it's not settled by the fall. I'm always going to check with each of my children's teacher before I choose in person. And I know that can be a task, but I think that that's my way of showing respect for someone who's being powered over. Society's telling them what they have to do, the school districts, the state, and the last piece is I will support the folks who have to make the decision in some way. I don't have all the information. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get to the point of what ways do we think, for example, school districts can prepare. I think there's some things that they can do differently, but I do want to state also that I'm not at the table. I'm not behind the closed doors. I know that there's stuff that I don't know, but I will check with my children's teachers.
Absolutely.
Ask them.
Yeah, that's powerful. Just letting them know. So Regina, you have small ones, and we talked about it in the last session. There are some challenges for your youngest that you're working through. Have you just continued to talk to them about what their paths may look like as they start traversing? Because they're in very different spots, year two.
Oh yeah, yes. My two boys are definitely two different spots. So, for me, I actually will be getting the vaccination shot as well. The kids, of course, they're not allowing them to get them just yet, but right now we are still trying to do on campus with my youngest, because she is special needs, and of course she needs that in person. But they're sending their computers and their technology home with them, just in case cases go up and down. So I think that's a good preparation in trying to keep the numbers down in the schools. So far, it's going good. We're on site. But when it comes to my teenager, she's 15. we have depression issues and anxiety issues going on. So at this point, I'm trying to get her prepared and mentally to know that she is going back to school. So that of course, we had to intervene and get a therapist in and just get her in the mindset of meditation and just being okay with herself, because I think that's kind of a big thing when you get isolated, especially during these times. You have a lot of mental things going on there. So we're preparing her mentally for going back to school, because for her, she does need the in-person. She needs the social contact, because if she doesn't, of course, she's going to revert back into that isolation state, depression. It breeds. It's
Yeah, it's an ongoing beast that has tentacles ravaging kind of in every direction. And I've always, kind of made fun of the younger kids because they are isolators. A lot of them are. Because I remember my nieces, I'm like, "You hanging out with your friends today?" "We are hanging out." Looking, there's nobody here. Like, we're texting. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So they would do that, but it's a different type of isolation now, because at that point they could go hang out with them and talk with them and do stuff. And then when the pandemic hit, it's a different type. And so, I understand that there's a lot of that going on. I'm kind of with Jolena. Both of my kids are back in school. They've been in school for a long time. The testing is what it is. It's on our system. We get notices all the time about kids being at school that have tested positive. Totally get all that. But just preparing them of which paths they take. Now, my son's just like Jolena's. If he wanted to stay home, he would stay home every single day. But no, and my wife's the same way. I mean, she carried him for 9 months. They were very close, but after that, we didn't want to spend that close proximity for 9 months ever again, like that. And they're older. My son will be going into high school, and my daughter will be, in her second year of middle school. She would go every single day. She hates it when she has to be at home. And so we're kind of riding both of those dynamics. But I think that, in our conversation today is, what I'm finding is that all of us are always thinking about not only ourselves. I have to kind of bring that out of you guys to talk about your own selves, is that we're kind of forward thinking of how this impacts everybody else. And we're constantly thinking, because all four of us, I mean, we have our ups and downs. We've had our own different things. Regina, you had stuff during the freeze. I had a water main break, over the weekend for a freeze. But I'm thinking if that's the worst that's going on for me, it wasn't that bad. I know Regina's is way worse than mine. But you're dealing with that plus everything else that's going on and trying to work and do all of those. But when I stepped back and I was telling my wife, I said, so is everybody else. We're not the only ones that this is impacting every single day, and it's coming in different ways. But I just wanted to thank, Chris. This has been fun because we've been together all 4 sessions, and I'm so happy that we got to do one with 4 of us together. I know that we're really thinking about hopefully going farther and down the road, because we could talk about different things all the time. Maybe we just get, content specific heavy, and we just talk about one thing kind of over and really kind of get granular down to it and really enjoy that. But this has been great. I enjoy you guys. I know if we do this again, Jolena and Regina, hopefully you guys will jump on board and ride with us again. But I wanted to thank you guys both again for being here. And Chris, as always, it's always fun to sit and talk with you guys. But I think today was a good one. We just, I wanted to throw out today that there was Match Day that was trending on Twitter. I was made aware of, and that's a big deal. I know, because it was about clinicians and psychologists earlier in the week, and now it's more medical doctors, that people are just trying to find their way into these services that we need. And we always need medical doctors, I get that, but I was excited to hear about the ones in the front, the clinicians, social workers and, psychologists, because there's going to be a big, heavy lift for them coming pretty soon, what's happening. And so we just need to keep flooding that profession. But again, you guys are spectacular, and I can't wait to do this again.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
That's my applause. Thanks, Adam.